All right, congruent figures are polygons that have both the same shape, good, and the same size, good. Our warm-up, were they congruent shapes? No, they weren't. Okay, similar figures, polygons that have the same shape, good, but different size, you got it. Was our warm-up similar figures?
Yes.
They were similar figures, they had the same shape, but they were a different size. So, we're going to talk about a lot about corresponding parts, corresponding angles, and corresponding sides. So what are corresponding parts? They have the same location. So for example, this table of 3 is the same as Zaina's table of 3, right? Okay. Who corresponds with her over there? Okay, which one specifically? The middle desk. Good. Zaina corresponds with what over here? Which she corresponds with? Same location is where? The backpack. Are we good? So again, no one, right? Do we understand same location? We're good? Okay. Now, this is really important. You might want to star these two. Okay, you'll see questions asked about this maybe on a quiz or a test. So you need to get these two important things down. Corresponding angles are congruent. What's congruent mean? They're the same, they are equal. Math word, okay? They're equal. They have the same measure. We're good? The length of corresponding sides are proportional. So we're going to look at proportions in the next coming days and weeks. Okay? So this is where we need our 2 or 3 different colors. Okay? We have 2 triangles right here, and we're going to see if they are similar. We're going to see if they have their corresponding angles are congruent, if they're similar, their corresponding angles have to be congruent, and their lengths of their corresponding sides have to be proportional. That makes up a similar figure. Okay? So I'm going to get my one color. And number 1, which angle corresponds to angle A? Good. Angle D. And go ahead and you can kind of shade that in, color it in. They are corresponding. Are we good so far? And how do we know that angle D corresponds with angle A? Their angles are congruent. That's important. Angles are congruent. Okay? Switch to another color. Which angle corresponds to angle B? Good. Angle E. Why? How do we know angle E corresponds? Huh? Their angles are congruent. Good. Number 3, which angle corresponds to angle C? Angle F. Good. And how do we know that angle F corresponds? Because their angle measures are congruent. They're equal. Are we good? Number 4, does each angle and its corresponding angle have the same measurement? Yeah. Yes. So far, we have corresponding angles are congruent. Okay? So now we're going to look at number 2 and see if the lengths of the corresponding sides are proportional. So if you want to grab another color, you can use the same colors you've been using. We're going to look at their sides. Number 5, which side corresponds to AB? So highlight A to B. Which side corresponds to A and B? So we have this purple color to green color. Which side corresponds? It's the same location. Huh? D, E. And it's important that D comes first. If you put ED, that's incorrect. Why? Because what?
Because the A is going to be.
Good. A, remember what corresponds with D, and B corresponds with D. Good. Okay, which side, choose a different color. Number 6, which side corresponds to CB? So let's highlight CB. And what corresponds to CB? FE. Good. Correct order. Okay, let's grab our third color. Number 7, which side corresponds to AC? So let's highlight AC. And what side? D, F. Good. And that's the correct order. We good so far? Okay, let's look at number 8. What is the ratio of side AB linked to the length of the corresponding side? Okay, so a ratio could be written how? As a fraction. Good. So what's the side length of AB? AB. 4. So what? The length of its corresponding side is 12. Good. That's it. We're good? Okay. Moving on to number 9. What is the ratio of side AC length to the length of its corresponding side? So AC is what length? 5 to what? Oh wait, BC. Sorry. Oh, I jumped down. Didn't I? I'm sorry. BC to the length of its corresponding side. So BC is 7. Good. Are we good? Questions so far? See why we highlighted? Highlighting, so you're more than welcome on a quiz and a test to have highlighters or any kind of colors to help you highlight the corresponding sides. All right, now let's do ratio of side AC length to the length of its corresponding side. So what's the length of AC? 5. There we go. And its corresponding side length is 15. Are we good? Okay, and then number 11 says, what are the ratios equal to in lowest terms? All of those are equal what? 1/3. Good, yeah. They all equal 1/3. Okay, so 4/12 equals 7/21 equals 5/15, and they all simplify to 1/3. That's just one big long proportion, right? Okay. Are all 3 ratios equal? Yes. What does that mean? What does that mean about these 2 figures? They are similar figures. So similar figures, they have their corresponding angles are congruent, and their corresponding sides are proportional. And we just saw that, right, with this example? Are we good? All right. Turn it over to the back. And we're going to determine whether each pair of polygons is similar. Are we good? We're going to look at their side length. Okay? That's the first one we want to do. So we're going to write ratios, just like we did with the corresponding sides. So we'll do the first one together. So A to C is 8. What side length does that correspond to?
Z to X.
Good. X to Z is 10, and that simplifies to what?
12.
4/5. Are we good? Okay, is there another side that we can compare it to? Because all 3 sides have to have the what? Same ratio, right? They all have to simplify, right? What's another side length we could use that will be helpful in determining this? Okay, so AB, so 10 corresponds to 14, and what does that simplify to?
5/7.
5/7. We're good? Okay, are these similar figures?
No.
No. So that probably also means that the corresponding angles are not congruent, right? So with your table, I want you to see if these 2 rectangles are similar. All right, go for it. Good. 6 corresponds to 7 and 8/10. Can you simplify 8/10 just so we see that it's not, doesn't simplify to 6/7? 4/5, right? Let's give them one big clap. 1, 2, 3. Did anybody have 7/6 and 10/8? That is okay too. Are we good with that? That's fine. All right. Moving on down. We're going to complete each congruent statement by naming the corresponding angle or the side. Y'all, the congruent statement you're going to love because it gives you all the answers of what angles and sides are corresponding. So what is a congruent statement? This right here. Or if it says triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF, that's a congruent statement too in words, okay? Or you may see it like this in number 1 and number 2. Okay? So without even looking at the picture, is what I tell students, you don't even need the picture. Are we good? Okay? Side FD, side FD corresponds to what side? F is first, so you're absolutely correct. IK, that's it. Isn't that nice? Yes, sir? Similar. Yes, ma'am? You could, but sometimes that's not provided. Sometimes, most of the time it's not even there. And students like to go by the look of the shapes, and sometimes they're turned, and they want to use the shape and not the congruent statement. Don't do that. Use your congruent statement in the word problem, okay? Number 2, angle A corresponds to what angle? Yeah. Good. Okay? The congruent statement is your go-to. So with that said, let's look at this problem here. I think this one was showed up on STAR before. I think it was 7th grade. This is a 7th grade T. So figure JKLM is similar to figure PQRS. That's your congruent statement in words. Okay? You don't even need the picture. Okay? So, which proportion must be true for these figures? Okay, so we're going to go through each of these. Okay? So let's start off with QR. So QR corresponds to what over here? KL. QR, do we see KL here or here? No. And it does say JK, right? Okay, so that's not the correct proportion. Okay, let's move on to G. Again, they start off with QR, and we said it corresponded to KL. Is that accurate? Absolutely. We're good so far? Let's see if the other ratio works. RS, I'm going to switch colors. RS corresponds to what?
LN.
LN. Is this LM?
No.
No. Okay, so with your table, I want you to go through H and J and prove it like we are to determine if the proportion is true or not by showing your work.
Can I just say what I did?
Absolutely.
Okay, so QR is here, and then it says that MJ is equal to that, but they're on opposite. Actually, that one is right. No, is that a J?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a question. Did you highlight your shape?
What do you mean?
So you're using the shape. I don't mind you using the shape, but like, did you highlight QR and then its corresponding side over here using your congruent statement?
What do you mean?
How did you do it? Because you're using the shape. You can use the shape, that's fine, because we talked about highlighting corresponding sides. Did you first highlight the corresponding sides? Okay, so that could, in the future, could be not the best practice. Okay, so the best practice would be you're more than welcome to use the shape by saying this is QR, but then using this to then highlight KL, and then looking at this, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Can I show it this way?
yes, absolutely.
Well then, so if it's QR here, then it has to be, if it's QR, then it should be MJ, but over here it's KL. So
Good.
it's not right. And this one is, well, that one's already wrong. This is PQ, which is right.
You can write if you don't mind writing and showing what you're doing.
PQ is, it says that it's equal to LM, but LM is on the other side, so that's not right.
Good.
And then this one is QR, which is over here, is equal to KL, and that is right.
Mm-hmm.
And then PS,
The ones on the ends. Good.
is equal to
J
not
M.
L or
J.
J. Sorry.
Good. And so our answer is good. Let's give her one big clap. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so if you're not going to use your congruent statement, do you see how students would think QR, this side length right here, corresponds to this? Do you see how they would choose that? I'm sorry. Is that accurate?
No.
No. Okay, please use your congruent statement to highlight. Okay, that's one option. Or you can just use the congruent statement. Okay, so with your table, what I want you to do, right here it says, can you write another proportion that must be true for these figures? Okay, so write one proportion with your table, and then once you have it, I want you to come write it up in the space. So the first 2 to 3 people, tables to come write them. Okay, let's look at the purple proportion, and let's look at our congruent statement. Let's erase that and do it again. So they have it. SP corresponds to MJ. Does that work? Yes. And then they have L.
That's good.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so this SP came from this shape. Here at the top needs to come from that shape. What do we need to do?
Swap it.
It needs to be switched. So RQ corresponds to LK. So this proportion would be correct if they are switched. Are we good with that? Okay, let's look at the green proportion. So we have PQ corresponds to JK P, Q, J, K. That's good, right? And we have an S, Q. Is there an S, Q?
That's like horizontal.
Is that accurate?
Oh,
Okay, it's got to be a side length, okay? So that's not a correct proportion either. Let's hope the red one's a correct proportion. Let's look at it. RS, we have not highlighted RS, corresponds to LM. RS, LM, good. Y'all are great at getting the first one, okay? PQ, and do we already have that one highlighted?
yeah.
In
That's check.
green. So PQ corresponds to JK. Yay! Big clap. 1, 2, 3. All right, so sometimes you're going to see similar figures that look like this. This is called nested triangle. So there is a smaller triangle inside the larger triangle. It's nested, okay? So one method that helps when you're working with nested figures is to draw them separately, okay? So let's go ahead and highlight our smaller triangle. And when you highlight it, we're going to redraw it and relabel it. And relabeling is important. So I'm going to use the same color to draw it. And then let's go ahead and label that one D, B, E. Are we good so far? Did I label that correctly? Good. Okay. Now I'm going to use another color. I'm going to highlight the larger triangle. And I'm going to redraw it. And then I'm going to label it correctly. I have A, B, and C. Did I label that one correctly? Mm-hmm. Are we good with that? Okay, so that's going to kind of help you see that proportion better, okay? If you look at the next 2 pages, with your table group, you're going to go through as many of these 10 problems as you can in the next about like 8 minutes, and then we'll check to see how you did, okay?